I've generated over $25 million with Facebook ads, and now more than ever that it is by far the best source of traffic when it comes to starting and growing your e-commerce brand. That's why in this video, I'm going to be pulling back the curtain and sharing everything you need to know, literally step by step from start to finish in order to grow and scale your very first profitable campaign. This is designed to be the very last Facebook ad training you will ever need and something you can come back to again and again as you're launching and growing your campaigns. So be sure to bookmark it so you can come back to it and revisit pieces that you might have missed. What's unique about this training is, number one, I'm going to be giving you a bunch of templates and SOPs to aid you in your process of launching your first campaign, stuff that people would charge for. Next, we're going to be going through everything click by click, step by step together. But the third and most importantly is we're not just going to be going through the steps, but we're going to be making sure we understand them at a conceptual level so that this forms a foundation for marketing and growth for our brands well into the future. And if you've been following the Print on Demand Challenge video series that I've been putting out, this is the exact strategy that I used for generating those sales. So you can see in the past 60 days, we spent about $72,000 at a 2.7 ROAS and generated close to $250,000 in sales. And that's at roughly a 20% profit margin. So these are strategies that currently work in the market today. So if anybody's telling you that Facebook ads no longer work, just simply doesn't know what they're talking about. So let's take a look at what this training is going to cover and talk about who it's best for. This training is going to be broken down into 7 parts. First is the intro, where we're going to answer questions like, are Facebook ads right for me? What should my starting budget be? Then our prep work, laying the foundation, doing all of the nitty gritty stuff like setting up our business manager, which I'm going to do with you step by step, creating our Facebook pages and our ad accounts and our pixels. And we're going to explain all of that stuff along the way and make sure that we're not just clicking the buttons and setting it up, but we're actually conceptualizing it and understanding how it plays into a bigger picture. Then we're also going to craft the ads, which is breaking down the elements such as the offer, the ad copy, and the creatives. Then we're going to launch our very first campaign. Precursor to this is we're going to set up our ad account, and I'm going to go through all of the metrics and what are the campaigns that we need, how do they work, what's the difference in optimizations, and then I'm going to lay all that out there for you, and then I'm going to cut through to what are the most important pieces. So you're going to have an understanding of everything that's there in front of you, but then more importantly, you're going to be able to see what are the 80-20 principle within that you actually need to understand. Then we're going to go through what is a day in the life of running the ads look as you're running the ads from day to day, and if you're spending money and not getting sales, what should you do in that situation? Or better yet, if you're running ads and you're getting sales, like what should you do in that case? Then we're going to do probably the most important step in this whole thing, which is the analysis. And this is where we're going to take a look at the data and the metrics we've gotten and see where we should be improving and where we should be cutting back. Number 6 is scaling up, which is basically once we have something that's working, how do we increase the amount that we're spending? So once we are spending $1 to get $2 to $3 back, how do we then ramp that up and spend $1,000 to get $2, $3, $4,000 back, and so on and so forth. Then at the end, I'm going to share some bonus tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. It didn't really fit in anywhere else, but the major keys to success, things that took me 5 or 6 plus years to learn that will hopefully save you a lot of time and heartache. And when you stay to the end of the training, I'm going to be giving away some SOPs and swipe files that I've made that we use within our own businesses. Like this one is our e-commerce Facebook ad strategy. You can't tell here, but it's 7 pages long. I'm going to give you that, which breaks down all your retargeting audiences. It's super detailed. Next, I'm going to give you our D2C sales report, which D2C is direct to consumer sales. And this is the spreadsheet that I fill out every single day to monitor all of our metrics. And it's a really good habit or routine to get into to learn how the metrics interact and make sure that you're trending in a positive direction day after day. And lastly, I'm going to give you our Facebook ad creative training, which shows you step by step, different screen shares, all how we make the ad creatives that we use for our different e-commerce brands. The goal is that by the end of this training, you're going to know the prerequisites for success, aka can Facebook ads work for me, how to build and launch your first profitable ad campaign, 3 steps to amazing ad creatives, how to analyze and iterate on your ads based on the data you're seeing, and 5 strategies for scaling up your ads. So there you have it. That's everything we're going to cover in this video. And like I said before, this is intended to be a tool for you. So be sure to bookmark it. You can come back to this at any time in the future to get the swipe files and stuff and answer any questions you have as you go through each step in this process, because it is a journey. It takes weeks and months to really get proficient at this. So be sure to bookmark it and like it if you like this kind of content, want me to make more. And I've added chapters or bookmarks at each of the sections below this, so you can jump around to any point in the video. If there's something in particular that you're curious about or struggling with, feel free to jump there. I won't take it personally. But I do recommend going through all of this stuff, because even if you think that you know it, it's stuff that's really good to revisit and make sure that you set it up foundationally correct. First question we want want to answer is why Facebook ads. And I'll touch on this very briefly because if you're watching this video, you probably already have a pretty good understanding of this. But basically, nowadays there's TikTok, there's all these different traffic channels. The Facebook ads is, to me, it has been and will continue to be the number one traffic source. The reason for that is that, number one, I've had the best results on Facebook. I've tested all the different traffic channels, but Facebook's been the best. But number two, when people are using Facebook, they're in more of a buying mindset than, say, TikTok. I know people have had success with TikTok, but I've had the most consistent results with Facebook. And people ask, is Facebook right for me? The way I answer that is, if your business is selling to people, then Facebook is right for you, because everybody has a Facebook account. But people like to think, oh no, it doesn't work for me. It's not right for my brand. But in reality, it is. Which brings us to the second FAQ, or thing that people say the most, which is that, oh, Facebook ads don't work for me. Facebook ads don't work. And 9 times out of 10, when I've talked with people that say that, the process they follow for launching Facebook ads that they say don't work is this. They sit down with whatever half-baked website or crappy products that they have. They sit down at their ad account, or even worse, they sit down with their Facebook page and they hit boost post. And then when the ad sales don't just start rolling in, they throw up their hands and they go, oh, Facebook ads doesn't work. When the actual process requires time, it requires diligence and training and like studying, just like anything else that's worthwhile in life. It takes effort. And it takes consistency more than anything else. So if you're watching this training, good for you, because you're one of those people that recognizes that it's going to take a little bit more effort than most people want it to, but it's going to pay dividends for you, not just the brand you're working on now or whatever your project is, but in all of your future endeavors, because we're going to see how Facebook ads can lay a foundation for not just driving paid social media, but in marketing in general. It lays a really good groundwork. Another reason that Facebook ads is great compared to Etsy or Merch by Amazon or those marketplace channels is that when you're driving traffic to your own website, assuming you have a Shopify store or WooCommerce, whatever, you're building your own asset. Like, you're building your own email list. You're building an asset that can be sold for a multiple of trailing 12 profit. Like I did with Yoga Stay, I would not have been able to do that as easily if it had been just an Etsy store, because Etsy owns your entire business. Like, you could get kicked off tomorrow and then you have nothing. Whereas with Shopify and driving traffic with Facebook ads, you have an asset there that you can reasonably claim has equity in it. Then the last reason for why Facebook ads is the best place to start marketing your business is they've made a ton of improvements of late, that the algorithm has gotten much, much better to the point that it takes far less time and effort to run and consistently run profitable ads than it ever did in the past. Before, it used to take dozens of hours every week, like split testing, hundreds of creatives, hundreds of audiences, and Facebook has simplified things down dramatically to the point that catalog ads with open targeting and a few offers mixed in performs very well, and more importantly, performs consistently. So to recap, Facebook ads is still the best platform to be driving traffic, in my opinion, because one, everybody's on it and they're in a buying mindset when they're using the platform. Number two, they've simplified things dramatically to the point that it takes a fraction of the amount of time that it used to. And lastly, this is Facebook ads compared to Etsy or Amazon. You're actually building an asset when you're driving traffic to your own Shopify store. Now, the last part of the intro that I want to touch on is the prerequisites for success. At what point does it make sense for you to sit down and start actually trying to run Facebook ads? Because it doesn't make sense at every point in someone's journey. A couple of things to be clear about is that it does not make sense to be running Facebook ads if you are strictly an Etsy or Pinterest or Amazon storefront or Redbubble. You want to have your own website, your own Shopify store, or your own app or software or something that you own that you're driving the traffic to. It makes zero sense to be driving traffic to Amazon and giving them that traffic. Basically, you're paying for them to make even more money than they already do. So number one, you have to have your own website, your own Shopify store. Number two is there's a lot of site optimization and product optimization things that we can do first before it makes sense to start driving the traffic. And I've pulled up the Miro board here that I've covered in other videos, but basically this walks through everything that you should do first before you start running the ads, like site optimization stuff that if you don't do this stuff first, you'll just be lighting money on fire. Now, you can still go through this training and get a foundation, but I highly recommend before you hit submit on your first campaign and spend even the first $1, you go through this stuff first and you make sure that your website is going to convert as high as possible. This training is meant to be the follow-up to the detailed step-by-step Shopify dropshipping video I did earlier, where I showed you step-by-step how to set up your store and all of that stuff. On the site optimization side, there's a lot of conversion rate stuff, like making sure your buttons are the right colors, you have the right stuff on the product page. Like, you wouldn't want to drive traffic to a site that looks like crap and isn't going to convert, because that would lead you to the false conclusion that Facebook ads are not working, when in reality, it's just that you're driving traffic to a garbage website. And I can say that from experience. I've done that more times than I'd care to share. So it's worth the time to invest in the site optimization. And I'll link to the video to watch to go through that, but set up your website first before going through this training. The second piece is the product side. A quick way that you can shortcut that whole process is simply taking a look at your competitors, taking a look at what sites are selling similar products to you in a similar niche, and analyzing everything you can about them. What are their price points? What does their product catalog look like? What do their product photos look like? What do their product descriptions look like? Like, I recently did this exercise by analyzing the top print-on-demand stores in the entire world. And after doing this, even though I've been selling for years and years, by just analyzing these stores, I was able to find a ton of best practices and things that I was missing on my website that now that I've added them in, our conversion rate has taken a significant jump forward. So analyze your product catalog compared to your competitors. Specifically, if you're selling like t-shirts or print on demand, you want to make sure you have a pretty large catalog, like at minimum 50 to 75 designs before you start driving traffic, because we need our conversion rate and our average order value to be as high as possible in order for our Facebook ads to convert well. Then the last piece that I would recommend having in place before you start running your Facebook ads are your email and SMS marketing, specifically the flows and automations. Setting up these flows so that as people come to your website and they either convert or abandon cart, you're going to be able to get back in front of them. And the reason I say to set this up first is that it's once you set it up, and it costs you next to nothing to set these up besides your time, but once you set them up, then you have them running for forever, and you can set it and forget it, more or less. And the last prerequisite for success when it comes to Facebook ads is something that I've mentioned briefly, but I want to make sure that I hammer it home, is that it will take work and it will take effort. The top 1% of advertisers on Facebook, the difference between them and the rest is that they split test their ad creative 11 times more often than the average advertiser. Just think about that. Like, for every one ad that the average advertiser is running, they have 11 more, like, or 10 more, which is crazy. But that's the level of effort and consistency that you should be ready for. Now, I can say that I don't even split test 11 times, probably do 3 or 4, but if I really wanted to go next level, that would be the step for me to take. And we're working on that now with getting SOPs in place so we can outsource more of that. But it's just something to be clear on, is that Facebook ads is not like your email and SMS flows where it's set it and forget it. It is something that will take time and will require consistent effort over time in order to be truly successful with it. But maybe I'm biased, but it is worth it because, like I said, 1, it drives insanely profitable traffic, but 2, it gives you a really good foundation and skill set that can be applied not just to your business, but anybody's business, basically. Like, for the sake of this training, we're looking at a print-on-demand store, but in general, these principles and methods can apply to any business out there. Now we're going to jump into the setup here in just a second, but before we do that, I want to lay the groundwork with a metaphor that has helped me dramatically over the years in understanding marketing and especially paid ads and how it fits into the overall picture. And the reason for this is that it can be somewhat confusing sometimes when there's all these buzzwords being thrown around, like pixel and optimization and audiences, lookalikes, like all these buzzwords that really just tend to overcomplicate things. And the metaphor that helps me the most is if we think of our business, no matter what it is that we're running, in this case, print-on-demand store, is if we think of ourselves as a brick and mortar store. Bring things back to basics. Think of us as we have a physical storefront down at Main Street, and there are people that are walking by our store, and our goal is to advertise to get people to come in the door. Now, this version of reality is far more simple because it's like more tangible to us, and there's no pixels and whatnot being thrown around. But so we're going to keep coming back to this metaphor, but if you think of us as a brick and mortar store, and our goal is to get people to come into the store in order to buy from us, what are some things that we might do? For example, we could take out a billboard on a road that we know a lot of people drive down. Say we're selling suits. We might take out a billboard on a highway where we know that a lot of people are driving into office buildings during rush hour. So we know that it's our audience, and we know that we're able to get in front of the right people. We know roughly the number of cars that drive by. That's pretty similar to what a Facebook ad is, where we pick our audience, we know roughly how many people it's being shown to, and we could go even a step further by saying if we put a specific discount on that billboard, then we would know the attribution. We would know exactly how many people have come into our store and purchased using that discount because of that billboard based on who uses that discount or not. And that's a lot like the pixel. So it's just something to keep in mind, especially when it comes to things like retargeting. Imagine if somebody came into your store and they were about to buy, but then for whatever reason, they decided to leave. Maybe it was too expensive, they weren't ready to buy at that time, and they walk out the door. What would be some things that you would want to say or show that person in order to get them to come back into the store and complete their purchase? That's what our retargeting ads are that we're going to talk about here in a second. So I just wanted to lay that groundwork as something we're going to come back to because it helps simplify things a lot and give an overarching understanding of where each piece fits in that we're talking about in this training. And as you've probably noticed, we are already a decent amount of time into this training, and only now are we about to start talking about the actual setup of our ad accounts and stuff, because this is where most trainings would start, but all the stuff we covered I think is super important to understand foundationally. But now let's start to get into the good stuff, and we're going to move on to our pre-launch section. All right, so in our preparation or pre-launch section, we're going to be setting up a couple of things. And the 5 things that we're going to set up in this section are, number 1, our business manager. Number 2, our ad account. Number 3 is our Facebook page. 4 is our pixel. And 5 is our catalog. I know that may sound like a lot, but trust me, the way that we're setting it up will make it extremely simple. It becomes complicated when people set them up not knowing what's the right order to be doing these things in. Just understand that we set up the business manager first, because that's basically like the folder that houses all of our other assets, like our pixel, our ad account, our pages, our catalogs are all within the business manager. And the way we're going to get to our business manager is by going to business.facebook.com/settings. Now, if you've never set up a business manager before, then this may be empty for you, and there may be one that just has your name associated with it. So what you're going to want to do is hit create a business, and I'm going to be limited in how much I can do this process since I've already set up all my business managers. You just hit create a business, enter your business name and your name, and then your business email, which this part really doesn't matter all that much. And then you're going to open up the business manager. Okay, now over here on the left-hand side, you can see what I was talking about. We have our users, our ad accounts, data sources, which is like our pixels and catalogs, and our integrations. So that's like where we connect Shopify. And most of this will be blank as of now. Unless you've set up an ad account or a page in the past, this should be pretty much empty. So to complete the setup for our business manager, all you have to do is go down to business info, and you can enter like your legal name, address, business phone, all this stuff, but it really doesn't matter. I would just recommend turning on 2-factor authentication. We've been hacked in the past, and that is not a fun time. We had somebody take over our ad account and just start blasting ads to their own website, and it was on our credit card. It was a real nightmare, and it could have all been prevented if we had 2-factor authentication turned on. So like I said, the business manager is basically just the folder, so there's not really a whole lot of setup to do here, but I would just recommend anytime you try to navigate to your ad accounts or your pages, you start by going to business.facebook.com/settings as your starting point. So that's like your hub. Now the next thing we're going to do is set up our Facebook page. So the way we do that is, again, from our business manager, go down to pages. So you can either add a page if you already have an existing page. The way you do that is hit add a page, and then you just paste the URL. So if you've already set up a Facebook page, I would recommend just adding it in rather than creating a new one. But for this brand that we're doing, which is Vacay Threads, I'm going to do create a new brand or product for the page name, and then for the category, clothing brand. Okay, then just like that, it made our page. Then I'm going to click view page. As you can see, it's just a basic, completely empty page. Now, a lot of people think that for their pages, they need to be creating like a ton of content, but you really don't. The only 2 things you really need to do are upload a profile picture and cover photo, and then enter some business details. So to make my logo for the brand, I just went over to ChatGPT and I wrote, make a logo for a vacation theme print-on-demand brand named Vacay Threads. So if you already have your logo, you can just skip this step, but I just want to show how to make it. So here's the logo it gave us. It's not bad. And I'm going to say, make a Facebook cover photo for a vacation theme print-on-demand brand's Facebook page. Okay, so it gave me something pretty messed up, so I'm going to say, make just a photo. All right, so that's a lot better. That looks pretty cool. So I go to the profile picture, like update profile picture, upload photo. That looks good. You can crop this if you want to, but it's good enough. Now I'll do the cover photo, upload, and drag to reposition it. That looks pretty cool. Hit save changes. And we're going to update our about info. Let's go to about, add email, add a website. Save. And there we go. Just like that, we have our Facebook page. I know it looks pretty basic, but this is honestly all you need. And one last thing that I'll mention here is your ad center or create ads. You'd never want to click these buttons. This is basically Facebook trying to give you a training wheel version of running ads, and it's terrible. It's basically just going to take a random post and publish it, put an ad budget behind it. It's not going to give you like detailed targeting or anything like that. We're going to do all of this in our ad account. Now we have our Facebook page. The next thing we're going to do is our ad account. So if you already have an ad account, again, similar to the Facebook page, you can just do add an ad account, but we're going to create a brand new one, clicking add, create a new ad account, name it vacay threads, and create. Now it's going to ask you to add people to the account. This is something you want to be very careful with. I always try to add as few people to our business manager or ad accounts as possible, because it can only really hurt you. Facebook has a habit of connecting together accounts, and if they see that somebody who was banned in another business manager is then in your business manager, they make you like guilty by association, and they can ban your business manager. So I can make a whole 2-hour video on just not getting banned by Facebook, but I'm just going to select name, manage ad accounts. Then you would add payment info, which you just want to make sure you use a credit card that has not been used on a different Facebook account. As a quick side note, I recommend using the Amex Gold card because you get 4x on your highest spend category, which for us is always ad spend. 4x on up to $150,000 in spend is 600,000 points, which comes out to roughly $6,000 to $7,000 when it's put towards airline tickets, which is pretty cool. All right, so we have our ad account, and the next thing we're going to do is set up our pixel, which the pixels have changed a lot over the past couple of years, especially as the iOS updates changed everything. But basically what your pixel is it's just a little piece of code that we put on our website that tells Facebook which ads are performing well. Like, it's back to our metaphor. If you think of the pixel as like the discount code that we put on the billboard, and then if we told that billboard or the billboard company which discount codes were working the best, then they would know that, oh, this billboard is converting the best. We should make more billboards like that or show it to more people like that. Kind of like that. It basically just lets Facebook know what's going on our website. And you used to just manually install that code. Now what you do is through your Shopify store. There's a couple of different integrations. So this is the Shopify integration from our store. I'm going to show you how to set that up. From your Shopify dashboard, you go to Sales Channels, Apps and Sales Channels. And if you haven't done this before, you're going to want to install it. It's this app here, Facebook and Instagram. Open Sales Channel. And if this is your first time setting this up, you'll see some kind of onboarding page pop up here. But basically what you're going to do is go over to Settings, enter your store details, and this is the part that we want here. So you go down to Share Data, and you want to set this to maximum because that's going to share the maximum amount of data back to Facebook. You update your shipping settings, and then down here you connect your Facebook page. And here it's going to ask you for the pixel that you want to connect it to. So it should prompt you to just make a new pixel if you haven't made one before. But you just select maximum, select the pixel, and you don't have to worry about the rest of this stuff. Something that's confusing is that Meta is pushing the Facebook shop stuff a lot, like your product catalog and your checkout options with Meta. And they make it seem like you have to set that stuff up. When in reality, yes, it's fine to set that up, but we really don't need any of it. All we need is to make sure that the pixel is connected. Meta basically wants to be taking all the sales through their platform if they can possibly help it. So here it is. Here's the pixel that was connected to our Shopify app, and it has my name as the user, and then it has the Shopify integration. Then the very last thing that we need to do before we can get into the ad account is set up our connected assets. So right now we have the pixel as a standalone asset, and then we have our ad account. Now we need to pair them up. So all that you do is go to connected assets, click add assets, and then you would click the name of the ad account that you just set up. And that's all there is to it. Now you have your business manager, ad account, Facebook page, and Facebook pixel. And you might be wondering about the Instagram account. I could set that up, but you don't really need it because number one, 90% of our traffic, at least in my case, comes from Facebook. And number two, you're still going to be running Instagram ads if you choose that placement. It's just going to show up as your Facebook page name rather than the Instagram account. So it's fine either way. Eventually you should set it up, but it doesn't really matter right now. All right, so pretty exciting. Now let's jump into our ad account and take a look at how we're going to set this stuff up. To do that, we just, from our business manager, business.facebook.com/settings, go to ad accounts and then go to our brand. And then over here on the right, open in Ads Manager. And if this is your first time setting up an ad account, it should be completely blank and look something like this. And if you're overwhelmed by all the buttons and everything on here, don't worry. I've spent entirely too much time in Ads Manager so I can explain all of them. And 90% of this stuff you see here, you won't end up actually using. So that's good news. But to give you a quick rundown, up here in the top corner, you have your dates that you can select. And we have our campaigns, ad sets, and ads. And this concept confuses some people, but it's really pretty easy. Think of the three as a tree. So you have your campaigns, which is like the base of the tree. You have your ad sets, which are like the branches on a tree. Then your ads are like the leaves on the branches. So you have your ads within the ad sets, and you have your ad sets within the campaigns. It's basically how it works. And the good news is that we used to have to do tons of campaigns, but now I run pretty much just 4 campaigns overall, which is amazing. It takes so much less time. And all of this stuff over here on the left, you honestly won't really need at all. I've never used like hardly any of this aside from billing and audiences, which we'll go over in a second, but it's pretty straightforward. All right, so the 4 campaigns we're going to be setting up are as follows. Number 1 is our ad library. So this is where we're going to build all of our ads, basically our playground that we're going to build all of our ads in, and then it never actually gets turned on. The reason for this is it keeps all of our ads super organized and easy to find them, and it makes it easy to grab our page post IDs to make sure that we're building up engagement across our ads. Number 2 is our testing campaign, which this is going to be about 5 to 10% of our overall budget. And this is going to be where we're testing out new ads and finding new winners. And third is our cold traffic campaigns. This is going to be like our dynamic product catalog campaign and our static image campaigns that are going to be responsible for about 70% of our ad spend. And the goal of these is to drive traffic into the top of the funnel. And our next campaign is our retargeting, which is going to be getting back in front of the people that clicked on one of our ads or abandoned cart but didn't purchase. Then our last campaign is going to be our re-engagement, or the campaign that's going to be getting back in front of our existing customers and telling them about new product launches, that sort of thing. This is not my graphic, but explains it pretty well from marketizer.com. But this is basically what our funnel is going to look like. So we have our cold, warm, cozy, which I've never used that term before, hot, glowing, and sizzling. Basically, it's making people aware of our company for the first time. Warm is re-engaging with people who haven't purchased from us but interacted with one of our ads. And then hot is people who like abandoned cart and we're like just on the brink of buying. And then the re-engagement. And I break this down in much greater detail in this SOP that I'm going to give you at the end of the video. But this will break down like all the audiences and stuff that you can use for this, like down to how to segment like people who visited the website in the past 3 days versus 7 to 14 days add to cart, like all that kind of stuff. So let's set up our ad library by going up here to create. And now we're given the option of our campaign objective, which this is the optimization, the fancy buzzword that people love to throw around that confuses the crap out of people. Basically, you can ignore all of these except for sales. We're only ever going to be optimizing for sales. But basically what the optimization does is it tells Facebook who are the types of people that we want to show our ads to. For example, if it was possible for us to have the billboard switch, like it cuts to a different ad or something, if it was possible to have it switch when we knew that a pack of active buyers were driving down the road and it only showed our ad during that time, that's essentially the optimization. And if for some reason we wanted to get a bunch of traffic to the site, like people that we know are prone to walk into stores and then just walk around but not buy anything, we could show it to those types of people on the highway. but there's really no reason that we would ever want to do that, except for trying to save budget in some areas. Now, the one exception to that is when we make an account for the first time, we always want to use just engagement campaigns to warm up the account. So basically, Facebook is terrified of ad accounts that open for the first time and then just start spending on purchase campaigns. There's been a lot of people that have abused it. So what we do is we warm up our account first by creating an engagement campaign. And also our ad library doesn't really matter because it's never going to really be turned on. We're going to do engagement, name your campaign, and I put numbers in front of these so that it's easy when I sort the campaigns. Ad 1. So we have our ad library campaign. Now the $1 million question is, what the hell should we put in our ad library? So now we're going to do a quick segue to talk about the ads and what we should actually be making for our ads. What makes a good ad? What's good ad creative, ad copy? What are good offers? And honestly, the easiest way to figure this out is just by looking at what other people are already doing. This is what I always do, not just like copying people's ads directly, but if you look at 10 or 15 or 20 other advertisers and you see what are the commonalities between them, it's a really great way to speed up our progress. So you can go to facebook.com/ads/library, and it'll bring you to this library here that will literally show you every ad that is currently running on Facebook. It's pretty amazing. The only thing is that you need to know what pages you want to be searching. Like, you need to know who your competitors actually are. But if you don't know any competitors, a great place to get started is with this Miro board that I'll give you at the end of this training, where I link to all of these top sites for graphic apparel sales, like Into the AM, Wicked Clothes, Redbubble, TeePublic, Teespring, Designs by Humans, Threadless, T-Fury, Busted Tees, Spreadshirt, and Qwerty. And then I even give you the breakdowns of all of their traffic analysis and their Facebook ads that they're currently running. But take a look at some of these sites and then go over to their ad library and take a look at the types of ads that they're running. So if we search, do all ads, and we type in Wicked Clothes, which is one of the brands on the Miro board, click search, you can see all of their top ads that they're running. So you can see these are the ads that they launched in November, and they're currently running 41 different ads. And the cool thing is that you can see not only the ad creative, but also the ad copy, the offers. Like here, they're doing buy two, get one free with pretty simple ad copy. And then their ad creative is just a pretty simple like Canva layout design, which we can easily recreate those. And then they're doing ads that are just the actual design. Like, they're not even showing it on a mock-up, which is interesting. I would recommend looking at least 10 different competitors' ads to get an idea of what are the commonalities, like what types of offers are they using, what creatives. And then I would start a swipe file or template file for yourself for the top ad copies and creatives you've seen. But I would just start a running list of anytime you see an ad that you like, add it to your doc, and it's just going to grow over time. And this seems like a simple thing, but honestly, so many people skip this and they just sit down and they start making whatever crap pops into their head. And I can say for myself, I definitely did this. I sat down and was just like, all right, what ad copy should I do? Having no idea what was actually going to work. So step one in making ads is definitely doing your research and seeing what is already out there that's converting. I added a couple of other examples here, like Into the AM. You can see they use pretty short ad copy, this weekend only with a fire emoji, take up to 95% off site-wide. So that's a pretty heavy discount strategy. And then the video is just like a Canva template. And Threadless, they did something interesting. So they have collections from different artists, and their ad copy looks to me like it's a ChatGPT generated summary of the collection from this specific artist, which is interesting. And then for their creative, they did a carousel ad, which these are super easy to make and they perform relatively well. And then Teespring, their ad creative is literally just a white mock-up of the t-shirt, which is pretty cool to see. Pretty cool because those are dead simple to make. And here are some good examples of ad copy that I've personally used that have worked extremely well. And to point out some of the main features of it. So this is the ad copy, or the upper part of the ad. So that would be this section up here. And the goal of a really good ad is to stop people from scrolling. And the order in which people look at an ad when they're on Facebook is the ad creative, the headline, the ad copy, and then the link description down here. And then they decide if they want to buy or not by clicking the Shop Now button. And then within the ad copy, the extra component is the offer. What is the reason that people need to stop scrolling, click, and buy right now? Not in a day from now or a week or a month. Why is it that they need to buy right now? Or what's the compelling reason that they would even want to do that? Is it pricing? Is it social proof? Is it uniqueness of the product? A good way to think of it is recency, urgency, and scarcity. So an ad that can combine all of those is one that typically performs really well. In this ad, it's new tie-dye collection sale. So it's a new products that just dropped. It's summer styles, so it's relevant to right now. This ad was run during the summer. And then it's a 65% off sale. I don't run discounts that high anymore. It feels like pretty salesy now, as I've tried to focus more on LTV than just day-to-day sales. Now I'll do 15 to 20% typically, and then shop and a link to shop. It's important to put the link also in the ad copy and not just the Shop Now button, but something short and sweet like this performs really well. And then the headline, which is just the type of product, sale, and then an emoji. And then down here, the link description is where you can really get creative with a bunch of different selling benefits, like orders ship really fast, printed and shipped in the US, number of customer reviews. If you have a money back guarantee, which I highly recommend having the 30-day guarantee. So whatever your niche is, if it was like for Yoga Stay, I would say yoga tea sale, and then printed and shipped in the US. Then another variation is new blank collection drop. So whatever your niche is. So like for Yoga Stay would have been yoga collection drop. Or for vacay threads, I would do like vacation tea sale or travel tea sale. Save up to 30% off while supplies last.com. So whatever your store URL is, and this would be a hyperlink. And then you can do collection specific stuff. So like new fall collection, new winter collection. We typically try to launch a new collection every season. So we end up using this kind of ad copy a lot. And this is for just your cold traffic ads. So this is for people that have never seen you before. And then for our retargeting ads, which we'll get into this more in a second, there's different types of ad copy. Back to our example of the brick and mortar store. What are the things that we could tell to people that almost bought but didn't to get them to come back in? So we speak to those customers in a different way. So the goal of the cold traffic ads is to stop the scroll, build trust, show social proof, give them a reason to click right now, like a sale or discount, and have a product that's unique and eye-catching, which with print on demand, this comes down to just having super unique products. And that brings us to the next thing, which is the ad creative. And I'm giving you this ad creative SOP, but you can see here the ad creatives are relatively simple. Like this one ad creative, this is responsible for probably 75+% of my lifetime ad spend, which is just a simple mock-up with the product laying on the ground. That's it. It's not videos of people wearing it and stuff that could do well, but just simply this laying on the ground has done extremely well. And then this too, it was like, forget the grid for a second, just this part here, that was like a top performing ad for a really long time. So I'm giving you guys the formula. It was this kind of ad copy, take your pick, try these all out, and then this was the ad creative. That's pretty much it. Like 5+ years of experience with Facebook ads. Like this is the winning formula, at least for print on demand. You can always iterate and come up with new creative ways, but this formula alone works extremely well. In order to find that winning formula, I probably went through 1,000 different ads. Maybe not quite 1,000, but definitely 500 before finding this. And it took a long time to test out a bunch of different ad creative before we found this. And then over time, we've slowly iterated on that by adding the grid and other layouts. Long story short, just by doing this kind of ad creative and ad copy to your Shopify store, you'll be 90% of the way there. And you can be fairly confident that you've done enough on the ad creative and ad copy side to get your ads launched. There's a lot of other components, obviously, but this is the biggest piece. So now we're going to create an ad by going back to our ad account and going to our ad library and ad set. We're going to finish setting this up. And then we're going to go to our ad. So So from the ad page, the first thing we do is select the page that we want to use and name it ad 1. So I do vacay threads, and like I said before, the Instagram account doesn't matter because it's just going to use the Facebook page name. And then I do create an ad. The other option is use existing posts. This is what we're going to use once we get to our actual campaigns, but right now we're just setting up the library. We're going to do manual upload, and I'm going to do single image or video. Turn off multi-advertiser ads. Do add media, add image, upload, do this picture. So I uploaded this screenshot. This is not my mock-up, but I'm just using it as an example of what one of these ads would look like. And now we're given the option to modify or crop our creative based on different placements. Now this is a deceiving thing that Facebook does because it actually hurts us, in my opinion, to do this, because what it does is it makes a different ad for each placement when our real goal is to build up engagement on these ads. We want to build up hundreds, if not thousands, of likes, comments, and shares, because that social proof is invaluable in the scale and velocity at which an ad can perform. If you see a post or an ad that has 1,000 likes versus one that has 10 likes, think about how differently you interact and how differently you perceive that ad. By giving us these options, Facebook is unknowingly to us asking us if we don't want one of the most valuable things that their platform has to offer. Same thing with all this, the music and stuff. Maybe somebody has a different opinion on this than me, but I always turn all of these off and have had much better performance with them off than with them on, because it does a similar thing. Now for the ad copy, I'm going to try this out. Travel collection drop, and those stars are just placeholders. I'm going to do this emoji of suitcase. I updated the emojis, and now I'm going to update the URL. Now the headline. So I update the headline to travel t-shirt sale. This is just pulling from one of our templates. And then the description I'm using is printed and shipped in the US. Obviously this needs to be true for your brand, but for ours it is because we're just using Printify. And then our call to action is shop now. We don't want info labels on, so I go here and turn all of them off. And website URL, vacaythreads.co/collections/sale. So I'm entering the URL of my collection page, which varies based on what type of product you're doing, but in this case for print on demand store, I want to drive traffic to the collection page rather than the home page or the product page, because I want people to see the wide variety that there is to choose from. I want them to buy more than one product so that our average order value is higher. Whereas if I just drive traffic directly to this page, there's a higher likelihood of people just buying one shirt and then leaving. We've split tested that a lot, but feel free to play around with it. But definitely don't just drive traffic to your home page. You want to drive it to collection page, or at the very least your product page. Then tracking down here, so this is your website events. So this is where you would enter the name of your pixel that you set up. I don't have one. I didn't create a new pixel in this case because it's just a demo, but you just enter the name of your pixel, and then that would link this ad, and it would make sure that it's tracking. And then you don't have to do anything else down here. App events you can ignore, offline events ignore, URL and tags you don't have to do anything with those. And so our end result looks pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. Obviously there's a lot of different things that we can play around with here, but it looks pretty good across all platforms. You can notice some of the things that make it stand out are like the emojis, the URL, emoji down here, how simple the mock-up is. I actually really like that mock-up a lot. It's very attention grabbing. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. And next, I'm going to show you an example of some of the other ad types we can make, like the carousels and the grid ads. And then we're going to publish these, and then we're going to move them into our other campaigns. So to create the other types of creatives, we're going to close that ad back here. We're going to duplicate this one out. We'll make two other types of ad creatives. Start with this one, add two, make this one, let's do a slideshow video first. And this one will be the carousel. So for the slideshow video ad, we scroll down, and since we already had a ad creative in here, we're just going to click remove all and add media and add image. When we do this, it's going to look like we're just uploading a single image ad again, but you'll see in a second why we're doing that. Because then we're going to do edit, turn into video, and now it gives us the generator that I feel like they should make this a lot more visible, but this is the generator for creating slideshow videos that perform extremely well in my experience. These perform a lot better than static images in a lot of cases. And so this is how you set it up. So you can do the swipe, contactless delivery, frame an image, highlight an image. I haven't played around with any of these. Just the one that I've used is the slideshow up here. In order to use this, you just have to select a couple of different images, which these are just random images I grabbed from the internet, just for example's sake. But for yours, you would obviously use mock-ups of your own products. So now you can see it has selected 5 images. I normally do about 10 to 15, try to keep it under 10 seconds. Then for scene transitions, I do fade. I do 2 seconds per scene, no stickers. You can see an example of what it'll look like over here on the right. And a cool effect that looks nice is when you use the same mock-up for a bunch of different designs, and then it does the scene transition or the fade between each mock-up. Since the mock-up and everything around the design is exactly the same, it gives the appearance that it's just the design fading in and out between images. Obviously with these random pictures we can't see that here, but I recommend giving that a try. Then you hit create now, and it takes normally 30 seconds to a few minutes for it to generate, and then we're leaving everything else the same. Our ad copy, our headline, our link description, and that's what I do 90% of the time. I'll leave everything else the same, and I'll just test out new ad creative. The only time that I really change the ad copy is if I want to play around with a new concept, like a buy two, get one free, or if it's Black Friday or a seasonal sale, or like a specific new collection drop, then I'll change it around. But by and large, I've found that the creative is the biggest lever for improving our ad performance, not necessarily the ad copy, at least for this product type. For different products, that is not the case. Like for software, high ticket sales, all that kind of stuff is in a different category. You have to split test your offers and your messaging a lot more. But a low price point e-commerce product like t-shirts is, I don't want to say easy, but it's much simpler marketing than you need for higher price point products or products that are just like more complicated. Last thing we do here is edit the info labels. If your website URL, no add-ons, languages, you just click setup for website events, and that's where you put your pixel. And the video is still generating, so in the meantime we're going to go over and make the carousel. So the way we make the carousel is we change the format here to carousel. And you'll see what it looks like in a second, but what's different about the carousel is that we're essentially making a bunch of static image ads just side by side with each other. You can think of it as relatively similar to the static image. It's just that people will have the ability to scroll through them. I'm going to do add, and I just select all the images that I want to make carousel ads for, or carousel cards rather, and then I make a new headline for each. So you can either use the same headline for every one of the cards, you can see them over here, or you can do unique ones. So for example, we could just do the same travel tea sale. You can do that same headline on every one, or what you can do is make it the name of the product that's in that image, like just ride tea. And that one, it's got a motorcycle. We'll add a motorcycle to it. And then if you have any reviews, like from either your Etsy store or from your Shopify store already, something that works really well is putting 5 stars like that, and then saying 4.8 out of 5 or whatever your average rating is. So just to show you an example, I'm going to apply one headline to all of them. Travel tea sale. So I made travel tea sale as the headline. I don't love it because the emoji goes down onto this line, but that's fine. Maybe I'll make it t-shirt sale. See if that, yeah, that's a little bit better. Maybe I'll add like that. Then I'm going to hit apply to all cards. By looking at the preview here, this is what our ad is going to look like on Instagram feed, for example. It's going to give people arrows that they can cycle through. Then on the Facebook feed, you can't really see it on desktop, but they'll be able to scroll through and look at the different images. Another cool thing is that you can actually show videos for these cards as well. So a lot of different options you can play around with. And the reason that we're making carousels and slideshows and static images is that we want to give Facebook a wide variety of creative to choose from, different creative types, because there's some people that are visual, like static image people, that they'll click on that. But then there's some people that only really watch videos. And then there's some people who like to interact with ads. So we like to have at least one of each type. And then obviously there's a million different varieties you can come up with within each one of those. But if you just do these three ad types, carousel, slideshow, static image, you'll be 90% of the way there. I recommend testing out and coming up with new ideas for the images and slideshows that you do, but just these alone, and even just these of your mockups, will take you really far if you have the right products, which we're going to get to that in the analysis section, how to evaluate if it's your ads that are not working or if it's like your product or brand. So we're going to get to that in a second, but just know that when it comes to making your actual ads, that following this structure that we just set up here will get you 90% of the way there, at least for e-commerce and t-shirt sales. The next ad that we're going to make is our retargeting ad. I'm going to duplicate this and name it retargeting ad 1. And when it comes to retargeting, back to our metaphor of being a brick and mortar store owner, we want to think of if somebody walked into our store or saw our brand but didn't buy, what would be the reasons that person wouldn't buy? What are the things that we could say to them to get them to come back and buy from us? And the main buyer objections that most people will have is 1, the price, it's too expensive. 2, lack of urgency, lack of social proof, or similar to that is trust in your brand. Like they've never heard of you before. Like how are they supposed to trust that they can buy from you? Or lastly, it's just not the right product for them and they're just not interested, which that's fine. It's the previous groups, the people that we can win over. Those are the ones we want to get back in front of. And the good news for you is that while you should use different ad copy for these strategies, I've already mapped out examples of each that you can just copy and paste from the swipe file that I'm going to give you. And I've split tested these a lot. They work extremely well. And for this example, we're just going to use forgot something. We save your cart for you. Complete your purchase now. Cart URL. It's an extremely simple ad copy, but it works very well. We're going to make this a single image or video. So down here at primary text, I'm going to paste that in, type in our url.co/cart. And I'm going to use /cart because for this retargeting ad, I'm going to show it to people who abandon cart. And these people, I'm going to be able to send them directly back to their cart so they don't have to click from the homepage or collection page. They're just going to send right back to their product so they can complete the checkout, because we want to reduce the amount of friction for them to complete their purchase as much as possible. Now, one thing I notice is that this ad copy is long up here. I want this to only take up one line. Like this looks just really janky. So I'm going to take out, there we go. And then I want this to take up one line too. There we go. Then headline, saved your cart. Then another selling benefit, it can be a guarantee. So I'll put that in the link description. And there's no exact science for these descriptions. It's just whatever you think for your brand. What are the things that would be most convincing for your potential customers to hear? And I always turn off this optimized text per person. We turn off our info labels. And the reason that we're setting up these retargeting ads is you can see in our account for the last 30 days, we've run at a 2.38 overall average, but our retargeting has run at a 3. Now, it's obviously a much lower percentage of the overall spend. It's about 4%, but it's running at such a high average that helps bring up the overall account a lot. So having these retargeting ads set up is extremely valuable. So we have our one retargeting ad, and then within this doc, I give you a breakdown of all the other different types of retargeting ads you can do, like testimonials, features, like this one down here, for example, where I do a bullet point of all the product benefits. But right now I'm just trying to show you the structure of like how you should set it up. But you could easily have 5 or 6 retargeting ads. I normally run with about 3 or 4. But now I want to show you, once you've made your ads in the ad library, what you should do with them. And for the cold traffic ads, you should definitely do this, is create your testing campaign. So testing campaign, test ads 1, test ad set 1, show existing reactions, comments, and shares. Always make sure that's on. And then we duplicate. And when I'm testing, I'll do anywhere from 5 or 6 ads per ad set. And then when I'm actually running them in my normal campaigns, which we're about to get to in a second, I'll do typically between 3 to 4 ads per ad set. Now, testing campaign. Let's make sure all of our settings are the way we want them. We're not using a catalog. We're not running an A/B test, and we're not using CBO. We use the CBO in our normal campaigns, but not in our testing, because testing, the goal is to spend as little budget as possible to find winners and then graduate them to our actual campaigns. And by doing ad set budget optimization, it allows us to control the amount of spend that's being sent to each one. So performance goal, maximum number of conversions, your pixel would be here. And then for your daily budget, here we're getting to the $1 million questions now. You can start with as low of budget as you can afford. I would highly recommend that in order to start running ads, you have at least a couple $100s that you can afford to lose. If you're working on your last 100 or $1,000 in general, I would not recommend starting to run ads. But if you have $100 to $200 that you can afford to lose, go poof, like completely gone, then you're in a good spot. Obviously, the more money, the better. But when it comes to your testing ads, I normally start them off at a $10 budget per ad set. And then I'll let this run for 2 to 3 days based on the results I'm seeing. So $10 budget, start date just right now. Normally I set my ads to launch in the morning hours, anywhere from like 3 to 5 a.m. You don't want to start your ads if it's like afternoon, because it'll hurry up and try to spend the entire budget before the end of the day. So you'll just end up wasting a lot of money. Down here to location, the locations that I use are include, browse, select all countries, and then add exclusions. And the countries that we're excluding, nothing against them, they're just not great for running ads, are India, Trinidad and Tobago, and Pakistan. The reason we're excluding these countries is because anytime I've ever run ads with them included in the campaign, just all of the budget gets allocated to them. You get like 1 cent link clicks, but it's pretty useless traffic because nobody is actually buying. They're just clicking. There's either a lot of click farms or a lot of people who enjoy clicking random stuff over there. Then minimum age, leave this open. I wouldn't recommend playing around with this too much. Sometimes I'll bump it up to like 5, but normally leave it open. Beneficiary, you can leave this. And placements, do advantage placements, and that's about it. And you'll notice that we're not changing anything with the audiences at all. We're doing open targeting, open ages, all demographics worldwide. And people are normally like, what about like interests? Should I pick out specific ones? And that used to be the case. Yes, that was a really good use of time, was to sit there, and I spent hours and hours like coming up with lists of hundreds of interests, then launching all of them into ad sets. And that used to be necessary. Now, luckily, we can just launch with open targeting, and the algorithm is good enough with advancements in AI and machine learning to pick out the pockets of people that are most likely to buy from your store and from your ads. So now we can trust in the algorithm, so to speak, and just use open targeting. And then once you've set up your testing ads, you can go ahead and click review and publish. And then it'll take anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, or sometimes I've seen it take as long as a day for Facebook to approve your ads and for them to start spending. I'm not hitting publish here because I'm not actually running the store. I'll show you actual examples from the store I am running once we get to the data analysis. But just for example's sake, for you to be able to see what buttons to click, that's why I'm using this test account. And then the next campaign we're going to set up is our cold traffic campaign. This is where our ads are going to go that have proven themselves in our testing. Once we get to the analysis, I'm going to explain like what are the metrics for success, how do we pick out the winners that we want to graduate, and all of that good stuff. So for this campaign, select sales, then 1_ cold traffic CBO, and then the targeting or placements, doing worldwide. Some people split up their campaigns by country, so they'll do US for one campaign, Canada for another, UK, Australia, all separate campaigns. I've seen better results with worldwide, but you can feel free to play around with it. In my experience, the campaign structure or the account structure is like the least of your concerns. Your time is much better spent testing and finding really good products and making good creative than it is like all of this stuff. This stuff is once you set it up once, you're pretty much good to leave it. But don't get me wrong, this is important to set up the right way, but once you do it, you don't need to make your whole life this like I used to. When it gets to this point, it keeps on trying to push me over to this new structure. We're going to go against the grain and do manual sales campaign. Okay, so advantage campaign budget, all this stuff leaving the same, and then we're going to turn on advantage campaign budget, and we're going to do $50 budget to start, and we can set our bid strategy to be highest volume, or once you have enough data on your pixel, you can choose ROAS goal. I normally just do highest volume. I've split tested between the two before, and highest volume seemed to be the better one. But as for the budget, this is the biggest question that most people have. Is $50 is a decent starting point. Normally when I do new CBOs, I'll start at least $150. But Facebook just added this cool new feature. Like when you go to update your budget, it tells you how much you can increase it to without throwing it out of the learning phase, which we'll talk about learning phase in a second. But they didn't used to have this. That's why you were never really sure, am I going to mess up my ad by increasing the budget? And now it tells you. So the reason I'm bringing that up now is knowing that you can't really go wrong with the budget you set, because if it's too low, you can always increase it later. But we'll say like setting it the higher the better. But if you're not sure if this is your first time running ads, I would recommend just starting low. Start like 25 or $50 and going from there. Because in the beginning, you're going to lose money. Now, we would start off with ideally like 20 to 25 creatives that we are testing, and then we would find the 3 or 4 winners. So let's just pretend that these 3 that we made are winners. What I would do is then duplicate them. Existing campaign, I'm going to choose my cold traffic CBO and duplicate. So now, like I said before, it's showing all the ad sets. It's a really annoying thing about Facebook, but just trust me, this one ad set is all that's in there. So this ad set has these 3 ads within it. As you can see here, the budget used to be ad set budget optimization, meaning it would be at the ad set level. I guess it came out years ago at this point, but is campaign budget optimization, meaning we can load up multiple ad sets within a single campaign, and instead of saying this ad set gets $25 budget, this ad set gets $50 budget, Facebook will automatically spread it across all of the ad sets. The reason I bring that up is that we're able to duplicate this campaign, or this ad set rather. I normally do about 5 or 6 ad sets per CBO, and then we're able to play around with different variables within those ad sets with a lot of confidence that even if we mess one up and one turns out to be a terrible ad set, Facebook is going to be smart enough to allocate the budget to the one good ad set. Like here, I'll show you an example. This is our USA CBO on our other brand, and looking at the amount spent on these budgets, you can see that Facebook clearly found that this ad set was a winner and this one, and it's allocated a ton of the spend to those, and it didn't allocate spend to these because they were lower performers. I think I tested like different creatives in these and maybe a different audience, but Facebook basically made up for my incompetence and helped me out and allocated budget to these. So you're able to play around with the audiences here. Now within each ad set, there really aren't a ton of variables. We can change the audience targeting, or we could put in new ads. We're not going to mess around with the budget optimization or like bid optimization. So I'm going to test out a travel interest. But like I said before, just doing open targeting can be like a really good starting point. Really don't need to do this, but I'll just type in detailed targeting travel. And these interests are based on Facebook's understanding of these people in a lot of cases. Like if it analyzes their users and figures out this pocket of people, which is 1.6 to 1.9 billion, these are frequent travelers, that's who gets added to this interest. So it seems like a pretty good group to go after. Estimated audience size is 109 to 128 million, since this is only US targeting. But something to keep in mind is that even though the audience size is that large, it is never going to show your ad to all 109 million of those people, because it's analyzing that group, and because it's optimizing for purchases, it knows that not every single one of those people in that group is likely to buy from you. So you're only going to hit a very small subset of that group. And now I'll update this title so I can keep my account nice and organized. I'll do one other for ad set 3. So I'll try out this backpacking interest, and just to show you this feature, something you can do is called define further. You can say, out of this group of people who are backpacking interests, I want to only target the ones who are also engaged shoppers. So Facebook has an audience of 613 million people who have clicked on the call to action button shop now in the past week. So these are the people that are actively buying from Facebook ads. So pretty good audience to target. The only downside with it is that every advertiser wants to get in front of these people because they're the most valuable audience. So you will definitely see higher CPMs targeting this group, but it's still worth it to check out. So this audience started out at 236 million. Then we narrowed it to only engaged shoppers. And then we're also just looking at the US for this campaign. So that brought it down to a total of 10 million people. I wouldn't recommend going much lower than this, especially nowadays where the algorithm is a lot better than it's ever been. But I just want to show you a few examples of how you can target interests if you want to play around with it. It can be interesting, but again, you really don't need to put your time into this. I'll keep repeating it because it's worth saying again that your time is best spent creating the best products possible, optimizing the rest of your funnel to make sure you're capitalizing on all the traffic you're driving, and making new and engaging creatives, which is like new videos, new pictures. Like that's where you just need to get creative and think of ways you can stand out in the news feed compared to everything else people are seeing. Now, the last campaign we're going to set up today is our retargeting campaign. I'll talk through it as I set this up, but the point of the retargeting campaign is about 5 to 10% of our budget, and the goal of that is to, like we've already said, get back in front of the people that have seen our ads but didn't purchase. So the way we do this, and honestly, if you already have a website and you have some kind of traffic, this is the first campaign that I'd recommend setting up because it's like the lowest hanging fruit. It's the cream of the crop. But I'm going to show you how we can make these custom audiences and get back in front of these people. So I'm going to say add to cart past 180 days. And you want to do an extremely low budget on these because the audience is so small. Now down here at the audience controls, and this is where you can select your audiences that you want to use. So what we're going to do is do create new custom audience website. Yeah, it's trying to have me make a pixel because I didn't set one up yet, but that's fine. This will be plenty to show the example. Since I haven't driven traffic yet, it won't have website events, but basically here under the events, you'll see like purchases, add to cart, initiate checkout, and this will populate automatically just based off of the data that it's getting from the Shopify app that we set up earlier. For this example, I'm going to do website visitors, and you can only go up to 180 days. Just interesting fact. So 180 days, audience name, website traffic, P180. I'll do create audience, and there we go. Just like that, now we have an audience that this ad that we're about to plug in is only going to show to the people that have been to our website in the past 180 days, which is pretty cool. This is like a very basic version. Like I said before, this doc tells you like the extremely in-depth. We just made one of these audiences, but you can get extremely detailed down to the point you're like, when somebody was on my website 3 days ago, I want to show them this ad. When they were there between 4 to 7 days ago, show them this ad. When it's getting closer to 2 weeks, show them this ad. And you don't need to go into quite this level of detail. This is only if you're doing like millions of dollars in revenue. Even if you condense this down to 1 through 7 and like 14 through 30, you'd be fine. But the reason it's beneficial to do it this way is that if you think of back to our metaphor of the brick and mortar store, is that when somebody is in your store the day after they leave, who's more likely to buy from you? Somebody who was just on your website yesterday or somebody who's on your website 30 days ago? The person who's just there yesterday. Based on that, we want to ratchet up the offers or what we're telling, the messaging we're sending to those people based on how long ago it's been. It's like the further and further away it gets, the less and less likely they are to buy. So by the time they're like 30 days away from us, we want to be like yelling from the rooftops, wait, come back. Here's the highest discount possible. But then the more recent it's been, we give them the more gentle stuff. Like, hey, we saved your cart. Like a week out, you can say, hey, here's free shipping. Sweeten the deal a little bit, because we want to try to get away with not giving away discounts as much as possible. But that's the general strategy behind it. And then since you're going to be giving away offers and discounts in some of your retargeting, you don't want cold traffic to be stumbling upon that stuff. So you can do target website traffic, but then exclude people who have purchased in the past 180 days. So you want to show it to new cold traffic, but you don't want to show it to your existing customers, because with those people, you want to be building brand equity. You don't want to be sending the message that you're like a discount brand. You want to have more value than that. So there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with your retargeting here. How we got the ads over to that campaign before, we're just going to do the same thing. Go to ad library, scroll down, find our retargeting ad. You see how the number of ads we have is filling up? That's mainly from our CBO, because it shows all of them at once. Existing. I should change the name of that since I ended up doing website traffic, but you get the point. And now we've built out our campaign structure and we've created our very first ads. So we've made our ad library, our testing campaign, our cold traffic, and retargeting. We can make another campaign for our existing customers, but honestly, this audience is so small for such a long time. You need like at least 1,000 purchases in order for this to really be worthwhile. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're interested in seeing a more advanced, like more detailed Facebook ad training on scaling and how to like really maximize the lifetime value of your customers, because that's out of the scope of this training. But just with what we have here is 90% of the way there. So now you have an understanding of how to create new ads and what the process looks like click by click in order to create campaigns, choose your targeting, generate new creative, and overall manage your account. And I know there's still a lot of buttons and stuff on here, but trust me when I say the process we just went through is 90% of what I do within the ad account, with the exception of increasing the budget and the analysis, which is what we're about to go over. But first, I want to share with you a quick overview of what the day-to-day process of running the ads will look like. What should you expect in running this? And then we'll dive into the numbers. So what you can expect in running your ads in the day-to-day, it looks a little bit different for the new ad manager, the new media buyer versus the more experienced one. Because 90% of what you're going to be doing is just analyzing what's working and what's not and making minor adjustments based off of that. And in the beginning, you won't quite understand what those things are that you should be looking for and what the numbers mean. And as you get better and better at it, especially if you focus on learning that piece of things, like analyzing the numbers, like what do they mean? Where can I make tweaks? Because there are always tweaks you can make. Once you learn that skill, it's invaluable, not just for your print-on-demand business, but for marketing in general. It will pay dividends over your lifetime. But once you get past that initial phase of learning what the numbers mean and the analysis, which I'm about to share a breakdown on in a second, once you get past that phase, what the more senior ads manager will be doing, and what the rest of even beginners will be doing this, is looking at the results that you have. How are your testing campaigns performing? Making sure that you have new winners on deck. But also in the beginning, if you don't have any winning ads, you don't have anything going on in your main campaigns, you're just going to be checking your testing campaign every day to see if you have any winners poking out. And if you aren't seeing anything, you want to be launching as many new ads and creatives as possible. Looking at the ad library, seeing what other people are doing, looking on Canva for any new templates, looking on Placeit for new mockups. And above all else, if you're selling like t-shirts or print-on-demand products in general, testing to find new product. A great saying to keep in mind is that great products can be sold by bad marketing, but bad products can't be sold by great marketing. Even as the ads manager for your company, you should always be thinking of product first and the rest of your funnel overall. Next thing you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis when you're running your ads is checking your comments and inbox messages. This is a crucial piece that often gets overlooked, and that is the comment section within your ads, because that is the biggest indicator of social proof that people have when they see your ad for the first time. So imagine if somebody sees your ad for the first time, they click the comment section and they scroll down and they see a bunch of people ripping on your company. What are they going to do? Those people, I can certainly guarantee, are not going to be buying from you. They are going to be scrolling on to the next cat video or whatever they're watching. Instead of seeing people crapping on you, they can see maybe a few complaints here and there, a lot of positivity, but by and large, they're seeing you as the brand engaging and replying to all those comments. That is a completely different feel and look to the customer and greatly increases the chances of somebody buying. Right, so I could have the best ads in the world running that I did my best work on, but then if I ever notice that like overnight it seems like our performance has seemed to slip, I almost have this like gut feeling that I bet that there's something going on in the comment section. And I go and check, and sure enough, there it is, a bunch of comments like turning against us. And it won't even be like you're scamming people or something. Like, obviously you shouldn't be like ripping people off, give refunds, like run a legitimate ethical business. Like that goes without saying, hopefully. But there will still be people, like as you're getting millions and millions of impressions, there will be people that talk negatively about you and your brand. And it only takes one snowflake to start a snowball. And it takes just one negative comment to then click for other people like, oh, I'm going to crap on this brand too, even though I know nothing about them. And then that turns into 2, turns into 4, to 8, 16. And then before you know it, your whole comment section is nothing but you getting crapped on. So the remedy for that is to stay ahead of the comment section. Be proactive. Have either yourself in the beginning or a social media agent like a VA monitoring it actively. Also set up spam and filter words on your page, like curse words and stuff like that. You can set it up so that those comments with those words will automatically get removed. But stay ahead of that and make sure you're active in your comment section. And if you see people going back and forth with each other, like arguing about something, let it go, because Facebook sees that as engagement, as positive interaction. Whether if it's actually positive or not is another thing. Facebook likes to see people interacting in comments, and then they reward you with lower CPMs, and your ads perform better overall. Another thing to be monitoring on a daily or perhaps weekly basis is your Facebook page score. This is something that they introduced during COVID. Whenever somebody buys from your Facebook ad, Facebook will then send that customer a survey between 1 to 2 weeks later to gauge how their experience was with your brand. And they'll ask them about things like product quality, shipping speed, customer service. And if your responses that you're getting in those categories are bad, Facebook will take down your page and everything we've just talked about will be for nothing. Going back to the ethical business thing, make sure you're running a legitimate business, that you're shipping out products, that you're giving refunds to people who want them. Because not only is it the right thing to do, but it'll make sure you can continue to advertise and continue to make money. Overall, our page score is very good, 4.4 out of 5. So it really should not be a challenge to keep this super high. And if it goes below a 1, is when Facebook will penalize you and remove your ability to advertise. So that's a quick overview of the day in the life of running the ads and checking on the performance of things. And the last and most important things in running the ads in the day in the life is, number 1, checking if our campaigns are performing well. And if they are, like running at a 2.5 plus ROAS, then I will increase the budget between 10 to 15% every couple of days. Like I showed before, Facebook has this feature now where they will tell you how high you can increase it. I've never gone and increased it by that dramatic of an amount, but increase it by 10 to 15% every couple of days. You should be fine. No risk of resetting the learning phase. And the last thing is, once our ad performance starts to drop, meaning our ROAS is going down, cost per clicks are going up, all that stuff we're about to talk about, I will then go into our bullpen, our testing library, and I will pull out our new top performing ads and migrate them over to the campaign that was running well before. So I'll look at the ads that are running in that campaign and essentially replace them with new top performers. And in order to find those winning ads, I'll normally have tested like probably 20 ads and found one winner. So I'll be testing a lot of different creatives in this campaign. So I'm really confident that the one that I'm pushing in to this CBO into all the ad sets is really going to be a strong one. It's not going to be like, oh, this one's kind of half-baked, it might do okay. It's like, no, I saw this ad doing 3 to a 4x ROAS, getting a couple dozen purchases, depending on your budget, obviously, but a statistically significant higher ROAS and lower cost per acquisition than the rest of the account. If my account's running at a 2.5, I want my winner ad to be running at least a 3+. If it's not at a 3+, then I'll be continuing to test and look for new winners. And that brings us to our next section, my personal favorite, which is the analysis. So after we've launched our ads and we've gotten a little bit of data back, how do we do the most important thing when it comes to running ads? And that is deciding what to do next. So it's not enough to just launch our ads and hope for the best. Luckily, the data tells us what the path forward is, whether if there's good results, hopefully, or a lot of times bad results, how we can fix it and get back on track. And I'll just cut right to the chase and tell you 9 times out of 10, it comes down to testing new products or new creatives. So in this section, we're first going to look at the metrics, and I'm going to explain what each of them mean and why they're important. And second, we're winding back the clock to when we launched this brand, and I'm going to share what the results were for the first couple of days and how I analyzed it. So that hopefully, as you launch your ads for the first time, you can walk through the thought process with me and apply that same strategy to your own ad account. The first thing I would do within your ad account is go up to your columns here, and Facebook defaults to performance and clicks. Their metrics don't really make any sense that they want you to focus on. I recommend using this custom column setup that I have. And so you can see the different metrics over here, and I would recommend setting up and saving your own dashboard that looks like this. So we have delivery, which is just if it's active or not. Amount spent, that's just the daily budget that it's spent for that day. Budget, that's obviously the amount that it's allocated to spend that you're able to control. Purchases, make sure to unclick mobile, website, offline, meta purchases. Just make it purchases. Purchase ROAS, again, unclick those. And your ROAS is your return on ad spend. So if you spent $1 and you got $2 back, that would be a 2x ROAS. Pretty simple. Link clicks, that's the number of people that clicked on your ad. But to be more specific, there's people that will click on your Facebook page when they see your ad, but link clicks is the one we want, not clicks, because that includes people who just click to your page. We want to see the number of people who click specifically on the link, which is either the Shop Now button or the URL that we put in the ad copy. Next is the cost per link click, which that's if you spent $100 to get 100 link clicks, that's $1 per link click. Normal range that we're shooting for is like 50 to 60 cents. Like you can see here, we're a little bit higher lately. CTR, link click-through rate. That is the percentage of people who see your ad and then actually clicked on the link. So if 100 people see it, 3 clicked on the link, that's 3% click-through rate. Pretty straightforward. CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. That's where it gets a little more confusing, but if you show the ad to 1,000 people, how much are you paying for that? Typical range is $10 to $20 per 1,000 impressions. And a little fun way to think about this is that the cost per click is just a function of the click-through rate and the CPM. This is how much you're paying to show your ad to 1,000 people. The link click-through rate is how many of those people are clicking it. For example, if you had a $10 CPM, so you paid $10 to show your ad to 1,000 people, and then 1% of those people clicked on your ad, that would mean you had a $1 cost per click. So if we're trying to get our cost per click to go down, there's 2 different ways we can do that. One is to get our click-through rate to go up, or 2, get our CPMs to go down. But basically, the way you get your CPMs to go down is by getting more engagement on your ads, because Facebook then rewards you because you're keeping people on the platform longer and they like that. The other way is by choosing cheaper, less competitive audiences. If you're advertising to like the make money online audience, it's like one of the most expensive audiences there is, your CPMs are going to go up. And then like how they're interconnected is that your CTR, like if you have really good engaging ads, your click-through rate is going to go up because people like them. And at the same time, Facebook is going to see that people are commenting, liking, sharing, and your CPMs are then going to go down because Facebook's going to reward you for that. And if your CTR is going up, more people are clicking, and you're getting charged less per impression, means you're getting more impressions for the same amount, and you're getting more click-throughs. That's how you really get your cost per click to drop substantially. And then your cost per click drops substantially, then your ROAS is going up because you're getting more traffic, so you're getting more sales on the website, which means you're getting a higher ROAS, which means you can then increase your budget. And then when you increase your budget, Facebook then starts prioritizing your ads over your competitors' ads. So your CPMs start to drop even more once the competitors get pushed out. So your CPMs drop, then they drop again, your click-through rates go up, your budget goes up, so all of these are maxing out, and that's how you scale. That's how you start to go viral. It's easier said than done. Hopefully it was easier understood than done, but it really just takes a lot of testing to find those viral ads that once they go, like they really go. Like you'll wake up next morning and you'll be at 1,000 likes, comments, and shares, and when checking out your ad account that day is just going to be a freaking treat. Like you're going to see insane numbers, but it takes some work to get there. But all right, back to the metrics. Adds to cart. This is the number of people who added to cart on your website. Again, uncheck these. Unique adds to cart. This is if somebody adds to cart twice, they'll show up as 2 add to carts. But if it was just one person who added twice, they'll show up as 1. So I like looking at both of those. Then checkouts initiated. Uncheck all of these. And then frequency, which frequency is the number of times on average that people are seeing your ads. A really high frequency of like 10 would mean that each person in that audience has seen your ad 10 times, which is a freaking lot. We're typically around 2 to 3. Retargeting is a lot higher because it's a much smaller audience. That's why we start with smaller budgets. But frequency is a good indicator of if your ads are burning out or not. So once you've selected all of those metrics, you just hit apply, and now it'll be in that order on your dashboard. And the reason we do it in this order is that they're basically in order of operations and most important. Aside from like budget and amount spent, all that's obvious. But first thing we care about is the purchases. Obviously, if we're not getting sales, nothing else matters. Then we look at the ROAS. What's the return on that ad spend? Then next we look at what's the amount of traffic that we're driving, and then what's the cost for that traffic, and then what's the click-through rate and CPMs. And then add to carts and initiate checkouts. It used to be much more reliable data than it is now since iOS and stuff happened, but I still put it in there. But the thing that I'm looking at the most is if I'm not getting purchases, the thing I'm looking at is link clicks. And if the link clicks I'm seeing are like in $1 to $2 range, then I know that there's something very wrong with my ads. I need to be monitoring that closely, and I would turn off the ads completely if my cost per clicks are that high. And a lot of times when people ask me to look at their ad accounts, they're like, we hired this agency and they're running our ads. What do you think? And I look at their cost per clicks and it's $3.50 per click. I'm like, no, turn that off, fire the agency, go back to the drawing board. That's ridiculous. And then I tell them to start filling out this spreadsheet every single day, which has honestly been a lifesaver for me and in my brands because it helps give me a regular cadence for understanding the metrics and what direction they're heading in. So I'll just explain this quickly and I'll give you this spreadsheet so you can fill it in for yourself. But I fill in the ad spend, the ROAS, the cost per 1,000 impressions, the click-through rate, cost per link click to page view ratio, which this is a tricky one, but based on your site speed, how fast or slow your site is loading, a certain percentage of people that click on your links will not end up visiting the site. So you'll notice some drop off. If you get 100 link clicks, you won't see 100 sessions on your site. You'll probably see 80 to 85 sessions. So we want to track that. This took me a long time to realize how big of an impact this can have, especially if your site speed is really bad. It can end up being like 50 to 60%. So if you pay for 100 clicks, you're really paying for 50 or 60. So that doubles your cost per link click effectively. So we want to track that. Next is the conversion rate, the add to cart rate, initiate checkout, average order value, then reach checkout rate, and then our marketing mix, tracking what percentage of sales came from Google, what came from email as a percentage, SMS revenue, and then SMS as a percentage. I'll talk about email and SMS flows in a separate video. Let me know in the comments section down below if you're interested in me making an equally in-depth training about that. But yeah, fill out this spreadsheet every day and you'll learn a ton about how they're all interconnected and what things you can be tweaking and optimizing. And on this Miro board, that I'll give you this as well. I've shared it in other videos, but in the analysis phase for running the ads, here's the metrics definitions that we just went over. Then here's the calculation for ROAS, which is the cost per click times your conversion rate times your average order value gives you your return on ad spend, because cost per click is how much you're paying per session, assuming you didn't have any drop off. So it's slightly higher than that, times your conversion rate times your average order value. So it's how much are you paying to get one session. So if you pay $100 for 100 sessions and then one person out of that 100 is converting, and then that one person is spending $100, that's a 1.0 ROAS. So this is a really important concept to understand, because a lot of times people think, oh, my ads aren't working, Facebook sucks, but they could have 50-cent cost per clicks, which is really good. And then you look at their website and you realize their conversion rate's like 0.5% and their average order value is $25. And so, yeah, they're definitely losing money on their ads, but it's far from likely that it's because of their ads. And then 99 times out of 100, you look at their website and there's something glaringly obvious and just beyond screwed up about it. Like they did not follow any kind of structure like what's on here on the Miro board. So this is beyond the scope of this training, but just be aware that your ads fits into an overall larger function, like overall bigger picture, and stay aware of that. Don't just think that the ads are everything, because a lot of times fixing your ads really means fixing another part of your business. And then probably the most useful thing on this Miro board is troubleshooting ad performance. So say that you spent your first $100 on ads and you have 2 purchases and $75 in sales. So you spent $100 for $75. Instead of freaking out, instead of doing what most people will do, like that's when the going gets tough. That's when the rubber meets the road and you have to decide, are you actually going to become good at this, or are you just going to run away kicking and screaming and complain in the comment section like, oh, Chris, I followed this and I didn't get any sales? I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. If you follow everything to a T, your first couple of campaigns will suck. I guarantee that, because it happens for everybody. There's a certain I suck tax that needs to be paid for any new skill, and Facebook ads is no different. The only difference is that it also costs you money at the same time. It's not just your pride. But trust me, it is definitely worth it if you can grin and bear it until you get to the point where you're good. And I'm here to help speed that process up as much as possible. But so say you got 2 sales, spend $100 to get 75, and you're like, all right, how can I analyze this and fix it? With even just hearing those numbers, I can tell you there is definitely stuff there that can be improved on and built upon. So for example, our ROAS goal is normally at least a 2.0 plus. Our cost per acquisition depends on the average order value. If people are spending $100 on our site, a $25 cost per acquisition is pretty good. Yeah, they're really good. But if our average order value is $50, then a $25 CPA is not as exciting. So typically for our stores, we're around like a $45 to $48 average order value. And then our CPA for just our Facebook ads, I think it's $30, a little bit less. But yeah, today we're running at a lower ROAS. Let's see what it is past 30 days. Yeah, $17.50. So that works out to like roughly a 3 given our average order value. So our goal for our click-through rate is between a 2% to a 3% range. But in general, we shoot for 2 to 3% in the US, $10 to $15 CPMs, and a cost per click in the 50 cent to $1 range. A really good campaign will be running at like 30 to 40 cent cost per clicks, but it's still possible to have good campaigns that are running at $1 plus, I would just make sure that when your cost per click is that high, that you have other creatives that you're testing that you're ready to plug in. Now, troubleshooting our ad performance, to keep things really simple, it just goes in order of the metrics that we set up in our dashboard. So if our ROAS is good, then we stop troubleshooting there. Like, ROAS is king. If that's good, then we're great. But if it's not, then we look at our link clicks and our cost per click. And if our cost per click is good, we're somewhat happy with it, because even if we haven't gotten a lot of purchases yet, there's a good chance that it will pick up in the near future, assuming that we're doing purchase optimization, not like traffic, which that's something that can throw it off. You can make it look like you're getting really cheap traffic by switching your campaigns to traffic optimization rather than purchase. But assuming you're optimizing for traffic, and if you're getting like 25 to 50 cent cost per clicks, like really cheap, then you're probably in a good spot to just hold on tight and wait for the optimization to catch up. But if you're not, say your cost per clicks are like $1.50, then the first thing I would look at is, one, did you follow ad copy and creative templates that were either from this video or from something that you saw your competitors doing? And if you happen to have thought you would get creative with your very first ad campaign, I'd recommend not doing that and just follow a proven process. Leave the creativity for once the cash flow is flowing. That's when you can have fun with it and stuff. But in the beginning, our name of the game is getting profitable. Step one is make sure that you didn't go crazy and try to make up your own stuff. Step two is see what the likes, comments, and shares are on your ads. If you're getting zero engagement, then there's a good chance that you need to try different ad creative and something more attention grabbing. Next thing is checking how many ads have you actually tested. If you go to your testing campaign and you're like, Chris only showed making 3 ads, so I only made 3 ads, then you completely missed the point and you're setting yourself up for failure. You should be testing at minimum 15 to 20 ads, ideally closer to 50. Every ad that you add to your account, you're increasing your chance of success substantially. So there's no better use of your time than creating new ads, and it doesn't cost you anything more because they're all going within the same ad sets. So Facebook's just going to play between them and at the same budget. So there's literally no downside. So if you have high cost per clicks, the reason is that you either have high CPMs or low click-through rates. So if you have high CPMs, you should test new creative and make more engaging ads. The reason for this, like I mentioned, is that Facebook penalizes ads with low engagement rates by delivering higher CPMs without telling you. They won't give you some blaring notification like, hey, make this change, you'll make more money. They won't do that. Other thing you can do is test new and larger audiences. So if you're playing around with interest and like getting down into like 1 to 2 million audience size, it's way too small. I would test higher audience sizes. Or if you have low click-through rates, test out new offers and test new creatives. So some offers you could try out are like buy 2, get 1 free shipping offers, 35 to 30% discount, new customer offers, buy this, get that. Or you can even just Google like e-commerce Facebook ad offers. You'll find swipe files with like hundreds of offers. Like, just test all of them out and specifically hone in on apparel and graphic t-shirt brands, see what offers they're running. It's a great place to start. Then if you have a low add to cart percentage on your website, which again, it's not within your ad account, but it's directly relevant to your ads performance, is first split test your pricing. It's one of the biggest levers when it comes to your site's performance is your pricing, specifically around if people are going to add to cart or not. And then optimizing your landing page, which I can make a whole separate training on the landing page, but that's back at phase 1 of this Miro board, making sure you have like your buttons in the right places, product photos, descriptions, customer reviews, cross sells, upsells, all of that kind of stuff. And your low initiate checkout percentage, you should optimize the cart page, because the only place you would have a dropout from initiate checkout is when somebody's on the cart. So they've already started by adding to cart, but then they didn't check out. So optimize the cart page and the checkout page, and then adding more payment options. If you don't have PayPal set up on your site, that's the main one. Like close to 50% of people on our site use PayPal compared to other, just the normal credit card processors. So definitely worth adding that. Okay, so now we understand the metrics, what they mean, and how to optimize their performance based on what we're seeing. I'm going to rewind the clock back to the first day of us launching ads and give us some real world examples. So the first day I launched ads, it was just in the ad library. I didn't actually mean to turn this on, but it ran, and it got 2 purchases, 2.0 ROAS. And notice the link clicks were not great. It was pretty expensive, but the thing that worked in our favor here is that we already had the website dialed in. We already had our email flows and stuff set up, so it was able to compensate for the fact that even though we only sent 28 sessions to the website, if not probably closer to 24 if you consider the drop-off, we were able to get 2 purchases because our website was already optimized. We had a high conversion rate just because we followed the checklist of things, so definitely do that first. Then on the second day, I let the ad library continue to run. The cost per click dropped as I would expect it to because Facebook's had time to optimize and figure out who it should be showing the ads to. But I also launched a second campaign, which this is like our USA main campaign. It says 7.16 ROAS. I don't think that's correct because the sales were not that crazy this day, but I would say it was around a 3 to a 4 because there is a halo effect when you first launch ads. But our cost per click was good. Conversion rate was outstanding. If you do the math on this, it's 11 over 123. It's like close to a 10% conversion rate. And yeah, things were looking decent. But say, for example, if this was the only campaign I had running, 58 cents, 1.5 ROAS, this is something I definitely want to bring up. Anything under a 2 ROAS, we're not happy with. We want it to be at least a 2 plus, ideally closer to a 3. But I see that our cost per click is 58 cents, so it's decent. It's in the range that we want. And it's just that the number of purchases is lower, which that comes down to our conversion rate and our average order value. So with this campaign, I would be relatively happy with it, and I would leave it running for at least another week and see if it improves its performance. And if it doesn't, I would then cut it. But at the same time, I would be testing other ads so that even if I did end up having to cut this campaign, I would have at least 5 or 10 other ads ready to go. And this third day is a prime example of why that's a good idea, because after we had such a great second day, on the third day, our ROAS plummeted down to 1.12. And this is where most people, and I get it, they would be freaking out. They would think, yeah, I spent $200 to make back $319 after cost of goods and everything considered. That's definitely a loss. But a couple things to consider are, number one, you don't need to be ramping up this quickly. I have the benefit of having experience with running ads, so you definitely don't need to be spending $200 on your second day. You can stay at the $25 to $50 range for a while, and you can break even pretty easily at that range. A couple of things to consider is that our cost per click is still in a good range, and we've only been running ads for a couple of days, barely spent anything. It's on a brand new pixel, so Facebook is still getting warmed up and figuring out who our audience is. And there's something called the mysterious learning phase that you'll see here under the delivery. It tells you if it's in the learning phase, quote unquote, or if it's active and running. And the learning phase is basically when Facebook is jumping all over the place. It's jump to try and hone in on who your audience is and what are the best times of day to be running, who it should be showing to, which ads within the ad set it should be using. It's jumping all over the place to try and narrow it down. So it's trying people on East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, narrowing in, and then it's doing like people 18 to 65, then it's doing 55 to 65, then 18 to 25, and honing in on those. But it's going to get it wrong a lot of the time as it's progressing through that learning phase. And the way you get out of that is by getting, I think it's 50 purchases within a week, 1 to 2 weeks, something like that. But once you get out of it, you'll see the performance stabilize a lot more. So in the beginning, it's going to be a lot of this, but you just have to be able to ride that out and get through the active phase. So that's the other thing, is that none of these campaigns were active yet. And you'll notice these are all off now because I've restructured using the clean and neat structure that we just walked through. And the last thing to consider is the day of the week. So Mondays, which July 3rd is historically the worst days of the week for us. Mondays and Tuesdays are the weakest. And I think that's pretty true for e-commerce in general. But Anyway, Mondays and Tuesdays are the weakest, and Fridays, Saturdays, and sometimes Sundays are by far the strongest. So with no other changes, everything else constant, Mondays and Tuesdays will take a huge hit. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sales go way up. Even if we touch nothing, it's just because people are getting back into the swing of things in their week on Mondays and Tuesdays. They're not like going out and buying stuff. They're just getting back into the swing of their life. And then on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, people are letting their hair down. They're drinking, they're hanging out, having a good time, and they're scrolling through social media, and they get hit with one of our ads. They're far more likely to buy in that kind of setting than they are Monday or Tuesday. The number that I really care about the most when I'm looking at the ads is not this ROAS here. I care about the overall. If I could be running at a 1 here, but if I did $1,000 today off of $166 in ad spend, then I'm happy. That's like a 6 or 6.5 return. And the reason that's a good mindset to keep is that we really care about the overall picture. Are we driving more email signups and like returning customers? We don't really care about our ads performing well. We care about how the business is performing overall. In the beginning, it's a little different because you want to track your specific campaigns and ad sets much more closely, but in the long term, you don't really care as much. That's why much larger companies, they will gladly burn tens of thousands of dollars per day on ads, all in the name of customer acquisition. They won't be a $17 acquisition cost like we have will be like a joke to them. They're completely fine burning $100 to acquire somebody just because they know that they're able to get a higher return on that customer in the lifetime. Jumping ahead to show the entire month of July, we ended up spending $11,000 at a 2.19 ROAS. And the way that we did that is, as we had one campaign performing well, I would just go in to the budget and go like this. I would just do 75 times 1.1, so 82.5, and I would increase it. And then I would set a reminder on my phone every 3 days to do that increase, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, it was pretty simple. I ended up actually touching the ads probably 5 or 6 times outside of just bumping budgets. Now, the reason for that was that I followed the structure that we mapped out here. I had a ton of creatives already testing in the beginning, so I didn't just launch with 5 ads. I didn't just make up an ad copy or make up an offer and then send it to an unoptimized landing page. I had proven ad copy. I had more than enough creative in my arsenal. I had a winning offer, and then I knew that my website was optimized. I had a good conversion rate, average order value, and I knew that I had plenty of products on the site so that there was something for everybody. I had my upsells and cross sells, all of that in place, and then I turn on the ads. I did all that stuff first, and then when I turned on the ads, I was able to grin and bear it through those first couple of days because I saw that our cost per clicks were in a good range. If they were over $1, I would have been acting much differently, but they were in a good range, so I knew that it was really just a matter of time before something caught and the algorithm started to figure out who it should be sending our ads to. And then we got out of the learning phase, and then I was able to start increasing the budgets even more. Still 10% at a time, but in the beginning of the month I was doing it less. But that's pretty much all that there is to it. It's not an overly complicated process nowadays. Here's my ad library for the account. As you can see, it's not just 3 or 4 ads. It was testing a shit ton. Now, luckily, 90%, I know that these are blurred out, but 90% of these are just mock-ups of our t-shirts. They are not like me being a creative genius or like sitting there in Photoshop or hiring some agency. I literally just took our mock-ups generated from Place-It-like mock-ups or the Printify mock-ups that they make, literally just those. If you already sell on Etsy or on Merch by Amazon, any of those mock-ups work perfectly fine for your creative. And then we already saw how we're able to make carousels and video slideshows extremely easily just using those same photos. It just takes getting these pieces into place before launching. So that concludes the data analysis section of the training. I highly encourage you to go and get this D2C sales report and fill it out every day. Less so for your ad performance and more so for your own knowledge and understanding. Filling out this spreadsheet has been one of the most valuable uses of time, because once you really understand these metrics, understand how they all play together, swap out t-shirts with a software or consulting or any other offer. It's all basically the same. The product that we're selling here just so happens to be t-shirts. It's something that can apply to literally any business. So 6 is scaling up. We've already touched on this briefly. I'm not going to go too in depth because we could make a whole separate training on it. But scaling up is the process of once we've gotten to the point of putting in $1 to get $2 back, how do we then put in $1,000 to get $2,000 or $3,000 back? I haven't figured out the billion to make 2 billion yet, but I have figured out how to put in $1 million to make 2 to 3 million back. And I can tell you that process really just comes down to 2 things. One is not even ads related, but it's your LTV. So making sure that when you buy a customer for the first time, you're buying them for a lifetime. You don't want to buy just one purchase. That's how you make income or cash flow. But the way you make real wealth or real equity in a company is by building a brand and experience that they want to come back and buy from 4, 5, 10, 15 times. And the second thing is just rinse and repeat. Just that same process we just did, just at scale. In order to increase your budgets, you need to expect that your frequency is going to go up. When your frequency goes up, it means that your creative burns out faster because people are seeing your ads again and again. You need to be able to remedy that somehow. The way you do that is with more creatives. Luckily, the creatives do not need to be complicated. It can simply be new product photos, or you can hire a VA to research the market and come up with new images and videos for you to try out. But you do need to expect more creatives to be made. Then once you've figured out your LTV and you have a good creative pipeline, which as a side note, that is the best thing to do, but even I struggle with it sometimes, it being diligent with testing as many creatives as I should be. But anytime I test a ton of creatives, I'm never like, darn, I should have tested less. It's never the case. But once you've done that, then it comes down to increasing your budgets, which I've already shared, 10% every couple of days, max twice a week. May not sound like a lot, but it compounds at a rate that gives you time to build out the rest of your foundation, your backbone, to make sure you have your other ads filling up your bullpen and you're flushing out your email sequences and product catalog. 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but it compounds extremely quickly. It's so that you're spending like roughly double month over month. So that adds up extremely fast. And within a matter of 4 or 5 months, you'll be shocked at the kind of volume you're doing. And another thing to be aware of as you start to scale up is the importance of staying on top of your comments and your social media presence in general. You will start to get a lot more eyeballs on you. You'll be getting millions of impressions month over month. And you just need to make sure your brand is ready to conduct itself in such a way that it will be under public scrutiny. I'm not talking about showing up in like newspaper articles and stuff, but I do mean that the comment section in particular can turn against you faster than ever. So you need to make sure that you have good SOPs, training manuals for your VAs, and you have all your refund policies and terms of service all ironclad so that every message and response that you give is all in unison with each other. The worst thing you can do is have people like asking questions about like, what's the sizing or fit of their products, and they're getting like different answers, or worse yet, no answer at all. You need to make sure that you're staying on top of those, and that's part of your daily routine. Some of the reminders you should be setting for yourself is check budgets to increase every 3 days, 2 to 3 days. Check comments at least once a day. Launch at least 10 new creatives in your testing campaign once per week. And check site performance at least once per week, conversion rate, average order value, and site speed, and your page score at least once a week as well. This should never really be a concern if you're fulfilling using like Printify or Printful, but make sure that you're nowhere near the 1 out of 5 threshold, which would make all this worthless. Now let's do a quick recap of everything we've covered so far. The first thing is we basically have all of the building blocks for running a successful ad account to our print-on-demand store. So we have our business manager, our Facebook page, our pixel, our ad account. We learned how to make the ads. We learned how to set them up within the ad account. Have our swipe files on how to create engaging Facebook ad creative. We have our retargeting guideline, which I'm going to share with you. And we have our D2C sales, like marketing stats spreadsheet. So we have all of those, and you know how to be monitoring the ads on a day-to-day basis, what you should be doing if things aren't going well, and how you can quickly turn that around. It's definitely not a dead end. You also learned where to go for inspiration. So if you're not sure where to start with your ads, you can go to the Facebook ad library. You can look at the Miro board swipe file that I'm going to give you. It shows you top graphic t-shirt sites, so you can gather all that inspiration from all the different sites and apply it to your own account You should never have a lack of ideas for ads when you research in the way that we discussed. We also set up your KPI dashboard within Facebook so you know what all the metrics mean, what order you should be looking at them, and how to be monitoring them on a day-to-day basis. Lastly, I just want to touch on some keys to success when it comes to Facebook ads. Just some tried and true wisdom that I've picked up along the way that would have really changed my life when it comes to marketing if I'd known it back when I started. And the first thing is that there will be bad days, but the bad days are worth it. If Facebook ads were easy, and if just running a business in general were easy, then everybody would be doing it. Facebook ads is no different. There will be bad days. There will be days when you have a negative ROAS or you lose some money, and you'll be questioning yourself, like, why am I even doing this? And I still have days like that, like where we'll go from making $2 to $3 grand profit per day down to the other day we lost $200 because like Shopify went down for a little bit. So you'll have days like that where it feels like you're just on the wrong path. But trust me, if you are proactive in managing your ads and managing your products and making sure you have good products that people want, you have good creatives, the rest will take care of itself eventually. And you learn the skills, specifically knowing what numbers to look at and what they mean, like you will get there. I have 100% confidence in that. The only reason that you would not get there is if you start to give excuses like Facebook doesn't work, like this isn't right for my business. Like, no, that is 100% not true. The only thing that could be true is that you are not willing to put in the work or the effort in order to get it there. And that's okay, but just be fully transparent with yourself and honest with yourself. That's the case. It is just that you learn and you improve day after day and that you're stacking the skills so that each day becomes a little bit easier than the last. I know this kind of sounds like general, but it's really specific to ads because it really is just a mental like head game that you just got to show up and do the best job you can each day and trust that it's going to get there if you're taking all the right steps. Which brings me to the second thing, which is don't overextend yourself. And I mentioned this earlier in the video, but if you are on your last $100 or you need Facebook ads to work in order to pay your bills, I do not recommend this. Facebook ads is not where I would start. And because I feel for you, that's why I'm telling you, Facebook ads is not where it's at for you. I would recommend going and getting a job, working like a 9 to 5, as painful as it may sound, working that while working on your business on the side. And then if you absolutely have to start a business sooner, like which I get, I would recommend going like the consulting or like online, like e-learning route, something that is much higher profit margin and much lower upfront cost for you. Facebook ads, there is risk, obviously. Like there is budget upfront that you have to be ready to lose, and just day to day into the future, if you follow what we went through, you should have more profitable days than not, definitely. But there are definitely still some down days that you'll have. So don't overextend, and you should view this like investing. Only put money into this that you are willing to completely lose. The third thing is test and test again. The top 1% of advertisers on Facebook split test 11 times more often than the average. I don't think I would even consider myself in that range for sure, but that's what we should be striving for. That's what the best advertisers are doing. And if you do nothing else in your ad account besides test a shit ton, you'll be in a really good spot. And 4, I've touched on this already, but remember that ads are just one part of your business. It is entirely possible that you follow this ad training we just went through to a T, launch 50 different creatives, have your pixel set up, your page, launch the campaigns in the right structure, and they do terrible. But what you should be watching for is what's the cost per click? Are people engaging with the ads? Am I getting traffic to my site and I'm just not getting any purchases there? You should keep in mind that ads are part of a much bigger picture. It is just the traffic source. It's just how you're getting people in the door to your brick and mortar store. And once you get them in the door, if they're walking into a store that has 3 products on the shelves, or it's 3 products and they're overpriced and they have to push their way through a bunch of crap in order to get to the checkout counter, aka a terrible checkout experience like a lot of websites have, or even better yet, they walk into the store and it takes 5 to 6 seconds for the lights to turn on for them to even be able to see anything, aka having a slow site speed. If all those things were happening, but you had the best salesman in the world out on the street pitching people on coming into your store and they were getting a ton of them coming in. People ready to buy with their money out. Then they walk in, see 3 overpriced products after the lights turn on 5 seconds later. Would you in any world walk outside to that salesman who's doing an amazing job getting you people and say, you're fired, get out of here? No. You would go and find an electrician to fix the lights. You would then call up your product specialist to get more stuff on your shelves. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this training and found it informative. Please let me know what questions you have. What are your blind spots still after going through this? What things did I miss? What are your burning questions? I'd love to hear them. It helps me improve future trainings. And let me know down below what else you want me to do trainings on, like email, SMS, product development, building your team, your SOPs, and scaling up the business in general. Happy to share anything. I'm going to keep doing trainings like this as long as people are finding them useful. So please be sure to like and share if you want me to make more of these. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.